Hey guys, I'm Bella, the maker mama boss lady behind Fiber and Fox, and this is episode 67 of my podcast. I think the last time I recorded was the end of August, and it's now the end of October, but I'm here, and I have all sorts of good stuff to share with you. So I don't think I have any admin other than I'm Bella. I'm a crochet designer. I also knit, and I share it all with you when I can and how I can. I'm giggling because I haven't designed a crochet design since the beginning of the year, but I'm sticking with the I'm a crochet designer. Speaking of which, this is a design by me, not a new design, but I am wearing the Anuk pullover, which is a reversible V-neck or boat neck. I always confuse necklines, but it's got a straight across neckline in the back and V-neck in the front. You can wear it either way. It's got this lovely puff stitch detail. Nice boxy fit, and it's fingering weight, and I think it's one of those really good make knitters jealous or knit knockoff kind of crochet designs. So that's in my Ravelry and Etsy shops, along with all the other patterns that I've previously designed, but we have a mix of knit and crochet and a little bit of sewing today as well. I've recently taken a bit of a dive into sewing, so I'm going to share all of that with you starting now. Thank you for being here, and if you're new, thanks for joining me, and if you've been here for a while and stuck around through all of it, really appreciate you guys. So let's talk what I've been up to in the last couple months. All right, I suppose we will start with finished objects as we typically do, and I thought I have this written down as a finished object, and I need to Kitchener the toe, but we're going to count them as being a finished object. I have a finished pair of what I was calling gingerbread house socks. Because they reminded me of the colors of the gingerbread cottages on Martha's Vineyard, which was a place that we stopped by this summer, and I was working on them while we were there. So the yarn isn't actually called that, and I think I have the label. The yarn for these is, I think, discontinued because I have not been able to find it previously to link it. I do link everything down below in show notes as far as patterns and yarns when I can, but this is Scapies Invicta Colors, color 1711, and it is a wool polyamide blend. So I made a pair, no pattern on these. They are a 3x1 ribbed sock pair for my daughter, and hers lined up nicely. I matched the colors up, and I used some various scraps and minis for the heels, toes, and cuffs. And then I also made a pair for myself, which I thought I had finished, but I am like down to like the final row on the toe. I don't know what happened there. So I guess I need to finish off the toe on this one sock, but I do have a matching set for myself, except mine don't line up in color because I wasn't sure if I was going to have enough left. So these two are a little scrappier looking, and I used slightly different contrast colors. Hers have a green and white heel, and mine have a yellow and white. Come on. And then hers is just blue on the top, and mine is blue and white together. It's slightly different blue than the blue in the sock, but I think it all works out, and they're very happy, cute little socks. And if I can find the picture of the gingerbread cottages that I used last time, it wasn't my own picture, but it was a really good picture that captured the spirit of the gingerbread cottages in Martha's Vineyard. I'll put that in as well. I had wanted to take a picture, either of them in progress or wearing them finished or knitting them or something in front of the cottages, and it just didn't happen. So just know that we went there and I made those socks, and that's what they remind me of. So those are technically a finished object because I can go Kitchener these after I finish recording. They've just been sitting in the whip pile or the podcast pile for months, and I honestly thought they were done back in August, but I guess they were not. So the question, I don't know if I should separate. This is technically partially sewing content, but it's also crochet content. So I think I'm going to put it in here, but if you've been here with me for the last couple episodes, I was making a flower girl dress for my daughter. She was in my husband's wedding. No. That's not right. My husband's married to me. My daughter was not in our wedding. My daughter was in my little brother's wedding. So was my husband. He was in the bridal party, and my daughter was the flower girl. And I had gotten permission from my now sister-in-law to make the flower girl dress, which I have crocheted and knit many a things. I have not sewn much. If you go back the last couple episodes, I have I sewed like one like sundress for her, and now I'm like, oh, I'm a sewist. I can sew bridal wear. That was an adventure. So I'm gonna, at some point in here, where it fits in best, put in a reel that I did on Instagram of it all finished. And maybe some B-roll or photos as well. I think it's all pretty much in the reel though. To give you an idea, this was a no pattern, completely drafted by me, based on my garment design with crochet math skills, abilities, whatever you want to call it. But I am not skilled in following sewing patterns or making sewing patterns, or I've only ever really followed maybe like 2 sewing patterns, and that was like in high school, and that was a long time ago. So I am not good at, I mean, it's the same math as far as taking body measurements and whatever, but like pattern piecing and that measurements and cutting out and making whatever, like I don't know how to do that. But I was able to design a flower girl dress using both crochet and sewing and some other art forms. So I'm going to grab that. It's over here, and we'll talk about this other lovely thing in a little bit, but hang on. I got to stand up to grab it so I don't rip it. So this is it. I ended up having to make a cardigan to go over it, but we can talk about that after, because the wedding was in the beginning of September, and here in New England, September can mean like 70s, or September can mean like 40s, 50s. And it was in the rainy and 50s category on the day of my brother's wedding. It was a beautiful day. Beautiful wedding, but the weather was kind of against us, but it ended up clearing up just enough that they were able to do their pictures, and no one was like soaked, and it was all under a tent. And it was lovely. It worked out, but it was not like a pristine, lovely day. It's fine because they're married happily now. But anyway, there's like grass or something stuck in this, but that's okay. This was a little more pressed and pristine for the wedding, but it's since been worn and we haven't done anything to it other than shoved in the closet since then. But this is my self-drafted. The reel will give you a much better idea of the size and shape of it, but self-drafted flower girl dress pattern. So here's how I went about this. I'm not going to tell you like how I made it or anything, but what I did is I crocheted this top bodice part, and I got the stitch. I think I mentioned it in the last podcast. I don't remember what the name of the stitch was, but it was out of one of my stitch dictionaries. I'll relink it if I linked it last time. But yeah, so I picked out a nice crochet stitch that was going to have a little bit of drape to it, but also have enough coverage. She did end up wearing a slip underneath, just so that, like a full slip, because the tulle on the skirt was very itchy. But I wanted enough coverage on the top that she was supposed to wear this just as a tank, but then we needed the cardigan afterwards. Anyway, just get that cat hair out there. So I crocheted this, and then the back has 3 little button closure, and they're vintage buttons from our button collection, which you didn't really get to see because it was underneath the cardigan, but I thought they were a sweet touch. So I did the top in 2 panels, crocheted those together, and then created this skirt, tutu, flu, massive fluffy situation on the bottom. You cannot tell how large it is here, but I think it was, I remember if it was 6 or 8 yards of fabric. My daughter has like a 22-inch waist, so 6 yards, however many yards it was of tulle. It's a lot of gathering of fabric, and it wasn't difficult math-wise to figure out how big to make it, but the like dealing with the tulle, this, I believe that's how you say it, Tulle, tulle, I think. This fabric, this like bridal veil-y stuff, was miserable. So miserable. Oh, there's a rip here. Apparently we ripped it. I didn't even know that. I have to see if we can do something about that. But I got through the day and that was fine. But yeah, this tulle is so slippery and staticky, and like I'm not very good at laying things straight and cutting fabrics in straight lines, and even like I have a mat and a rotary cutter now, and I'm really bad at, like, you can't really iron it. I guess you can iron it on a super low setting, but like trying to get it to lay straight and line up and get like the seams and things pinned, like it was just so like slippy slidey. And I was like in here at night sewing it after my kids went to bed, and sewing is very frustrating for me. And I was exceptionally frustrated because, you know, it was later in the evening and I'm very much a morning person. So I was like in here struggling with like mounds of tulle because I have 2 layers on the top and then 4 layers underneath, I think is how I ended up doing it. But it was just so slippy slidey, and like I had to have my husband help me like fold it in half and get it lined up. And I didn't even have, like, the bottom edges are definitely janky and cut like not super great. I don't know if you can see, but you can't really tell, but like they're not pristine and clean at all. But trying to get it mostly even so I could sew it together and then gather it. And like I'm trying to have Jojo help me fold it. And he's like, is this a liquid? Is this a gas? Like what is this? So it's very difficult. Maybe somebody with much more experience would feel differently, but having only basically ever worked with like quilting cotton, I don't think I've used any like fancy fabrics. This was a challenge. And I will say I am very against like fast fashion, and something when I got married that was super important to me was that my dress was made in the USA and responsibly, not like made in a sweatshop. But anyone who is working with tulle for less than a well-paying wage, it is injustice, because this is horrible stuff. But anyway, got it done. And initially, I keep like snagging this rip on the back. I'm gonna have to fix this. Initially, the whole inspo behind doing this whole thing was that I learned how to do, I think it's called tataki zome, but I might be saying that incorrectly. It is a Japanese art form of flower pounding, or pounding flowers into, the colors of flowers into fabric with a hammer. And these are all flowers from our garden. It's not showing up super, you can probably see it better in the reel, but like I'm just lost in here. So it's the best looking one though, that purple. I like that fern is really pretty. Yeah, it's not doing it justice. But it's a really beautiful piece of fabric that oh, there's another rip in the front. This little girl ripped this dress up real good. I didn't realize that. But she made it down the aisle without rips. So this happened somewhere in the reception, and that's fine. But yeah, I had made it on a vintage cotton bed sheet with flowers from our garden, and there are some spots that are a little worse for wear because with the flower, the hammering, I don't know if I'm really going to be able to show you, but there's definitely spots where we roughed up the fabric a little bit, and like I think it's going to really show. It's very hard to see. Yeah, you can see like the fabric kind of took a literal beating with a hammer. Because you have to, it was tricky because I didn't want to do it on like our dining room table and leave like hammer dents in the table. And you have to do it with like a heavy enough hand that you're pounding it into the fabric but not ripping the fabric. So we were doing it like on cardboard over our driveway because I couldn't do it in the grass because the grass was too bouncy, and then it was pounding the grass into the so I'm sure there is a more precise way of doing this, and I think if I do it again I might set up one of our plastic, there's a cat outside the door, plastic like folding tables for like parties, and maybe put cardboard over that and then hammer on that. because all of my other attempts, I've run into like friction issues with our driveway or our sidewalk or whatever hard surface I was working on, even with newspaper or other fabric down underneath. It's very frictiony. So I need to figure that out. But we made this beautiful fabric out of sheet, and then originally I was going to just do all of the tulle layers over the top, but then we didn't want to totally block the beautiful flowers. So there's more tulle underneath. You know, they're like there's a lot of tulle. So it's very poofy. And then I added this lace around the waist, and it ties in the back. And then this really pretty lace across the bottom hem. This is kind of my favorite. It's really pretty. So yeah, all in all, it came together really beautifully. I think I only spent like $40, $30 something in material, and that bottom lace was actually more expensive than all of the fabric and notions together. But yeah, it's all from, other than the bed sheet, which was vintage from my mom's house, and the flowers from my garden. All of it was from Hobby Lobby. So these are 2 Hobby Lobby yarns held double for the top, the lace, the tulle, and the buttons I already had. But yeah, so it's precarious now, but I'm pretty proud with how that came out. I was hoping to get her to wear it again for some other fancy event, but it's a little too fancy to wear to like church, and it also doesn't fit in the car seat in the car. So we were like at the wedding location and then got changed into it, but I can't buckle her into the car wearing the dress. So if she's gonna wear it for anything else, she's gonna have to change on site, which is a little bit dramatic. So even like Christmas or Easter or something like that, I'm not gonna bring her to church and then get her changed. It's too much. I have my hopes up for like a father-daughter dance or something, but now that I know that the top layer is ripped in several places, my girl is lovely, but she's feisty. So I'm glad that the whole skirt didn't like rip off the dress, and that we made it down the aisle without falling in a mud puddle or anything. So that was great. Turned out beautifully. Super proud of it. Super proud of her. She took her job very seriously and was like super stoic. And we forgot to mention that she had like a basket with the flower petals in it. And we had practiced the night before at the rehearsal with just like leaves, and we had thrown like just like a handful of leaves in there. And we're like, okay, so you throw them and you walk down the aisle in front of my sister-in-law and you make a path for her. And then day of, she had all these rose petals that were from bouquets that my brother had bought for his wife to be in, just super cute. And she one by one took each individual rose petal and dropped like a total of 6 down the aisle or something. But it was very sweet. And she made a lovely flower girl, and their day was beautiful, and they're happily married now, and I'm so proud of them. So that was cool. And I don't want to do any more bridal wear sewing, maybe ever again, unless my daughter wants me to like sew her dress in however many years, far distant, and maybe by then I'll be better at sewing fancy fabric. But yes, that was a lot, but I got it done. Now there's fluff in my mouth. Okay, and yeah, so I don't have a name for that project or really any links or any information to give other than I'm just really proud of it and I wanted to share it with you. And I do have a pinch more sewing content at the end that we'll cover as well. But that was kind of a sewing crochet hybrid. So we're putting it in the finished object section. And then I have, let's talk another object for my daughter. I'm going off my show notes from last time because I honestly don't remember what I mentioned. It's been a while. But I believe that I was talking about how I wanted to not sew, no more sewing. Crochet and or knit items for my family for Christmas photos. We have family photos taken every year. We end up using them for Christmas cards, but they're not like Christmas photos where we do Christmas themed things or anything. Just family photos that we like to take yearly. We have a friend that does them for us and they're really sweet. But I like to have new handmade items made kind of in correlation with those. And I had picked out a sweater for myself. That got done. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then a sweater for my daughter that I had really high hopes of doing some knit color work for me and crochet color work for her. So this is not a finished object because I gave up on it. I have a different finished object instead, but this just went all kinds of wrong. So I will find a picture of the original, but this was the quill cardigan by the Velvet Acorn, whom I love as a designer. And I think it's incredible that she usually does like a knit version and a crochet version of the pattern. They're not identical, but they're very much like sisters, not twins kind of thing. And she gives them kind of like similar names, like the feather cardigan and the quill cardigan. So like a side-by-side version. And I wanted to make the quill, which I've had in my queue for or my favorites or whatever for a super long time. And it's a crochet colorwork kind of feather patterned cardigan. And I've never done knit colorwork flat. So like for a cardigan, you would need to do it on the knit and the purl side or steek it. And I've never done either of those things. But I am obviously an experienced crocheter, and I have never done crochet colorwork of any kind, I don't think. I've done the tiniest pinch of like mosaic crocheting, but not really. And this is like, was this mosaic? Stranded? I don't know. But basically you were crocheting it and carrying the non-dominant yarn through and crocheting it over it. So there's no like strands on the front or back. It's just like trapped in between. And you're making like a little channel and going over it kind of. And part of what went wrong here is entirely my fault in picking the yarns. Because I picked yarns that, I love this green, which I'm going to repurpose into something else. My daughter declared it too itchy, which was one of the reasons I gave up on it and didn't frog back with another contrast color. But I was using a Zauberball, and I forget what the colorway was, held double with a white, and it does not read like a pattern. It's like a pixelated, fuzzy, confusing mess. And I just found it incredibly frustrating. And maybe there's some secrets to crochet colorwork that I do not know. But when I knit colorwork, I hold the yarns in both hands, and I'm able to do continental and English style knitting at the same time. So I'm managing the yarns pretty well. And stuff still gets tangled a little bit and whatever. But yeah, this just was very tangly. And because you're crocheting, you can't really hold it in two hands. Maybe there's some magical way that I don't know about. But yeah, trying to like switch the non-dominant and trap the other one. And I'm sure there are some better techniques I could have been using, but I was just so discouraged with the yarn choice, like because the color changed so fast throughout. And I tried it without the white, and then I frogged back and added the white, and it like either way, it just did not read well. But the main yarn is lovely, though my daughter declared it too itchy. It is Woolstock Light Fingering from Blue Sky Fibers, and the colorway on this one is Mossy Green. And I think this is lovely. Really, really lovely. I think I have five skeins of this, including what's in here, so I'd have to frog back. But I had done like a proper swatch and everything and was feeling pretty confident about how this was going to turn out. And then she shot me down and it's just the colorwork didn't work out. And then I was like, okay, I can crochet maybe just the quill cardigan without the colorwork and just do the shape of the cardigan. And I was going to hold this yarn double with a mohair, and it gave me this color, which was incredibly similar to the one that I was using for myself. And I thought that that would look really nice together, but she didn't like the mohair either. She's going on a 5, so it's a little too textured for her. So that was a fail. So I have the quill cardigan pattern. I may reattempt it at some point. I think hers go from like toddler sizes up to adult, so I could even try it for myself if I wanted to. But I did not find joy in that crochet colorwork. And I am very much a person who is like, crochet is not lesser than knitting, and they both have their strengths. And for me, I think one of the strengths of knitting is colorwork and making socks. And I just don't want to do either of those things crocheted. And I've tried and probably could try more. I'm not writing it off forever, but yeah, this was not sparking joy, so we're gonna recondo it out of my life. What I ended up making instead was the Highland sweater, also by The Velvet Acorn. And this is one of her knit patterns. And the funny thing, besides it being a super cute sweater, my daughter, probably since like age 3, has said her favorite name is Highland, which we don't know anyone named Highland. And I'm not even sure, I wasn't sure even until seeing the sweater that Highland was even a name. Maybe it is, I'm sure somewhere it's a name. But anytime she's playing dolls, she like always names the doll Highland. So I saw the sweater and it was super cute and would work well for what I needed it to, and it was called the Highland sweater. So I was like, oh, that's perfect. And she said she's going to save it for her children. So how adorable is that? So instead I made the Highland sweater. This needs a good steam blocking. This is an acrylic base yarn, but I'll tell you about the yarn in a second. The buttons, we're going to talk about the buttons, but this is the Highland. It's got, I did some modifications. So I'll put in a picture of the original. It is a stockinette cardigan with this little peplum-y ruffle bottom. I believe the original cuffs were just a garter cuff and they weren't ruffly. And the original button band is a garter button band, and I subbed in. I learned how to double knit. I made a double knit button band, sort of, kind of, well, like that's, we're gonna clean that up a little. And I definitely have some issues where I changed the gauge. I started out on a larger needle to match the ruffle, which is done on a larger needle at the bottom, and then I forgot to switch to the ruffle larger needle double knit whatever change that I did before. So this side of the button band is shorter, but it's the side that goes underneath, so it's not too devastating, and because of the ruffle it kind of camouflages it. And I'm hoping I can stretch it a little bit when I block it. But this is the Highland. I don't think I made any other major changes. I think I made the size 5-6 or something, 6-ish size range. And I learned how to double knit, and I watched some tutorials, a whole bunch across many different people's channels, and I think it came out pretty well. So it's this nice thick, it's done with like slip stitches, double knit button band. I definitely could have picked up more stitches around the neck. It's a little snug around the back, but it's all right. And I would like to crochet or do an I-cord around the bottom because this bit tends to want to flip up. So I need to do that before next week when we do the pictures. But yes, I need some opinions on this. I like how the sweater itself turned out. It's cute. And she's got like a little mustard yellow romper that she's going to wear it with, and it's going to be super sweet. But the buttons, I originally had these yellow buttons in mind. These are by Flatland Alpacas or Fiber in Mud. She's a local to me artist who does a lot of indigo dyeing, but she also does a bit of ceramic buttonry on the side. And I had 6 of these buttons. I still have 6 of these buttons, and you can see they're a thick, this is why I wanted to do the double knit button band, because these are a heavy ceramic button, and they're like a buttery yellow with like a hint of like blue. It almost looks like sponge painting or something. I don't know how she got the glaze like that, but it's got a bit of blue in it. And I love them on their own. I got them last year and didn't have a project in mind, but I thought they would go with this. She's going to be wearing yellow, or like a mustard yellow, but either way, I thought the red and yellow would be nice together, but it has such a like clownish or like a Madeline or something vibe to it. It really bothers me. And I have 2 more, so I could do 6 all the way down, and I did make the buttonholes to accommodate that. If I don't do 6 buttons, I'm going to just sew them up and pretend they're not there. But I don't like these buttons on here. I'm going to keep them because I do like them. And now I know how to double knit button bands, so I can put them on something. But I don't think this is right. So I have a couple other button options I need to ask you about. I should tell you what the yarn is, but I guess we've committed to talking buttons now. So let's talk buttons about the Highland cardigan. So we have the yellow ceramic. Sorry for the crinkling. But I went on a raid of what is my mother's / mine's button collection. How's the best way to show you this? Hang on, let me put these on my lap. Don't want to lose any of them because I need all of them. Okay. So the vote of my daughter and my mother and the grandmothers of the internet so far has been these very bejeweled. These are my least favorite. I have four of these. These are just too glamorous for me. But my daughter thinks they look like jewels, and my mom loves fabulousness. And like I put up a story and all of the other grandmothers are like, oh yes, if your daughter wants those are the right ones then. Which I love my daughter and I want her to be happy, but I do not like these buttons. So these are like a plastic, shiny, bedazzled thing. So we have those. And then we have these red ones, which blend very well with this incredibly red sweater. These I oh, don't lose you. Don't lose you. Baby's leeching. We need you. I have 6 of these, so I could do 6 or 4. I don't know. I don't know if I like the red on red. I like how well they match, and they have this nice like sunburst thing going on. But I don't know if I like them. I don't know. I don't know if I would do like I guess black buttons on a black cardigan is cool, but red on red might be a little much. So I have those. And then I thought these were my favorite because originally I wanted to get a brown button. That was wood, but this is a plastic. Ooh, sorry. Come on. There we go. Plastic, it's like a double little flower situation. I can't decide if I like those or if I really don't like those. They were my favorite, and then I don't know. I just don't know. Maybe I'll try to get a picture of all of these. It's really hard to visualize buttons. I find picking buttons harder than like creating my own wardrobe. Like I can knit a sweater, but having to pick buttons for it, goodness. And then I think my favorites, I have an assortment, they don't all match. An assortment of vintage ivory. Like I think this one might be plastic, but like like this one is actually ivory, literal ivory. So I have an assortment of those, and I think those might be my pick. It's very hard to visualize, right? Especially now that I have the yellow ones, by the way, aren't sewn on. I just tied them on, so it's not a big deal to take them off. I just tied them because I was trying to get a real visual on how they would look. I don't know if any of that helped you visualize, but if you have opinions, I would love to know them before next week. So hopefully I get this podcast up this week, because otherwise that was all for naught. But those are my button choices. The yellow ones definitely have to go. But that is my Highland sweater, and it was a very delightful, easy raglan. I might even make one for myself since I have the pattern without all the ruffling. Just a nice basic Mr. Rogers-esque sweater. And the yarn that I used for this was given to me. Oh, I never talked about, I'm sorry. We got to come back to this. The yarn that I used for this one was given to me by my neighbor who was going through her mom's yarn collection. I believe she said her mom had at some point belonged to a like prayer shawl making thing at her church or something. So I think this is a far long ago discontinued. I haven't looked it up, but it's an old label. Patents Promise. And it is 70% acrylic, 30% nylon. It's, I believe, a worsted weight. Doesn't even have that info on here. That's how old it is. And made in Canada. And it's the color, whatever that says. But it has a very mohair, that red is so much. I'm sorry. If you can see, yeah, like a mohair-esque halo to it, but it's not as scratchy. It definitely has an acrylic feel, but for my daughter, I think she would prefer this. And she has a cardigan from, I think, Gap or something that's in like an ivory color that's a very similar, a fluffy acrylic feel to it. I don't know if she's going to like this one bit against the back of her neck. Even though it's acrylic, she's pretty sensitive. So I may have to like line this with some kind of ribbon or something. But yeah, that's that. I really like Heidi's patterns. I just, that crochet one, I don't know. I think it was just the way the pattern, like the yarn that I chose in combination with how tall, because it was half double crochets, I think. So maybe a single crochet would be a tighter neater, or like even that like slip stitchy kind of crochet thing. I don't know. Just didn't work out for me, but I really like the Highland sweater. So that was good. And then my other cardigan that I forgot to show when we were talking about the flower girl dress that I had to make last minute to go with the flower girl dress when we looked at the forecast. I made this in like 3 days before the wedding. This is a version of the lace cardigan by Mon Petit Violon, which I have made countless amounts of times. This is probably my most made object of my, I mean, other than the patterns of my own that I did for like markets, because I've made hundreds of like pom-pom hats. But yeah, as far as patterns I was making for myself or family or friends, whatever, this is my most gifted pattern too, because I always make it for baby showers. But I did some modifications. I added some ruffly bits. Again, this was looking better day of the wedding. Some ruffly bits along the bottom in the sleeve. That's a sweet circular yoke cardigan. This was the yarn from the Flower Girl dress, and then I ran out and had to use another more cream colored one. I don't think you can see the color difference between the white and the arm. But it kind of worked out because the Flower Girl dress was actually like that, where the top was kind of a brighter white and then the flower skirt underneath was kind of a more yellowy white. So that worked out. And then we added another really pretty vintage button that I only had one of. And that worked out good, so she wasn't freezing the day of. And we had originally had like white sandals to go with the dress, with the tank top and all these like summery vibes, end of summer. And she ended up wearing combat boots or like Doc Martin kind of boots because it was so muddy out. And it was that or the Paw Patrol boots. So the black boots over the blue dog rain boots seemed like a better choice. But it was really cute, all in all. So that was all of my finished daughter projects. Yes? Yes. All right, let's talk my finished photo shoot sweater. This is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Not to toot my own horn, like I'm tooting this pattern's horn, because I wouldn't normally keep it on a hanger like this. I just wanted it in the background. It's gonna make little loops out of the shoulder, but I was taking pictures and I wanted it in the background. But this is, I believe, the Solvi by Knit Love Wool, Jennifer Steingast. And I am not usually one for a colorwork yoke. I'm not usually one for a yoke fit. And I haven't done a ton, but in my previous experience, just on my body type, the bust to arm ratio, the arms always end up really big in order to accommodate my bust, and I don't want to do all the math to switch around the placement of the stitches on the color work and the charts and the sleeve fit and whatever. So previously, like, I've ended up with really big sleeves and kind of a deep yoke that makes me feel like I have weird wings or something, and it like rides up weird. So yes, haven't loved a yoke fit, but this fits so nice. And it's so lovely, and I didn't mess up the color work at all, and it's so crisp and so beautiful, and everything that I wanted that crochet color work to be, this knit color work is. And I'm not sure if they're feathers or leaves or both, but I love it. I absolutely love it. I will have to get some B-roll tomorrow of me wearing it, but I guess I could pop it on for you quick here. Hang on 1 second. Like, come on, it's so lovely. It has a little bit of like extras because it's a yoke, and it's a fairly deep yoke, and the pattern did have some options for if you wanted to omit, I think, this last chunk down here or something, or shorten there was something about shortening the yoke if you didn't want it as deep, but I wanted the full drama, all these flowery, leafy, feathery bits. But yeah, I think it fits really well. I could have maybe done cast on less stitches under the arm, because I think I added like 12 stitches or something to pattern. And I could have done maybe a little bit less and had a slightly tighter sleeve, but I'm happy with this fit. This is comfortable for layering and whatnot. And I think the only other modification that I did on this is I did twisted rib on the ribbing, and the neckline, I think the pattern has an option for a 2x2 rib. Maybe it was 1x1. But the original in the pattern photos is just like a rolled stockinette neckline, which I didn't like. So I originally made this kind of a long ribbing because I was planning on tacking it thusly, but I kind of actually like this slightly longer. I think it's kind of dramatic. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at myself in the viewfinder because this is so beautiful. Is it called the viewfinder? No, it's not. In the screen. But I love it. I love it so much, and I'm so proud of how well it turned out. And I did all the proper swatching and everything, and the fit is great. I believe I made the 4th or 5th size in the pattern. I think it's about a 43-inch bust or something finished. I haven't actually measured how it came out, but it fits really well. The only thing I might change is I did the hemline. I like where it hits, but I did it on a larger needle size because typically my twisted rib pulls in, but blocked out. This kind of flares a little bit, but I don't think you can really tell when I'm wearing it. So for the photos, I'm probably going to leave it. And then after next week, I only sort of kind of wove in that bottom end. So I might take it out and do the ribbing again on a tighter needle. But other than that, I absolutely love it. And this yarn is so lovely. This is the same wool stock light, but this is in the colorway Time, I think. Wild Time? Yeah. What are you? Yeah, Wild Time. So it's the same blue sky fibers. And I ordered all of these from yarn.com webs, which is fairly close-ish to me. It's like a 45-minute drive, so I could have gone and gotten it, but children. So I just ordered it instead. So I still have the sweater quantity for my daughter, which could turn out to a sweater quantity for me because I think I had 7 skeins and I have like 2.5 left. So I don't know what I'll do, but I really, really like this yarn. And I don't think I mentioned it when I was talking about my daughters, but it is does it say on here where you are? Yes, 100% fine Highland wool. I've worked with Highland wool before and that was too scratchy. This is fine Highland wool, which I don't know what the differentiation between like merino and super fine merino and like Highland wool and fine Highland wool. But this is lovely. The only thing I have underneath here is a camisole, and I would say that it is in fact next to skin soft. It definitely has some prickle to it. And the weird thing is like when I pet it with like my hand, I'm like, oh, that's so soft. But then like if I rub it, I'm like, oh, you're a little prickly. Is there a fish? There's a sad baby. Hang on. All right, we had a wake up baby incident, but we're good now. Baby settled. We were talking about caressing the sweater. But yeah, the only thing I have underneath here is a camisole, and this is definitely comfortable. Kind of tickly, but not prickly. And I'm fairly sensitive, so I would definitely make more stuff out of this particular yarn again. Although I'm curious to see how it wears. Where did the ball actually go? Where are you? Come back. It is a pretty twisty, but a single ply. And because it's fine, I've worked with super fine merino before, and that's pilled like nobody's business. So I am concerned it's going to pill. I couldn't find info on other people's opinions on that. I have like the sweater shaver depiller thing if need be. I'm hoping it doesn't pill. And I should say the contrast yarn too. This is the scratchiest part, is the contrast yarn is a mill end cone from Green Mountain Spinnery, which I talk about all the time. So overall, I'm very happy with this. Definitely could happily wear it. And it's fingering weight, so this is like my ideal sweater weight. I know some people are really opposed to knitting fingering weight sweaters, but I am very sweaty. And even like fingering and mohair or DK or even like non-super, like even just like superwash or like, I don't know, whatever. Any sort of DK or beyond is like too sweaty for me. And I said I could wear this next to skin with just a camisole on, but I need to know if I am the only one felting the armpits of my non-superwash sweaters. Anytime I make one non-superwash, I need to wear like at least a t-shirt underneath or long sleeves or whatever. Because if I just wear a tank or a camisole, it gets sweaty and frictiony up in there, and I felt the armpits every time. And I've never heard anybody else complaining about this. I don't know if I'm just exceptionally gross or what, but yeah, I don't want that to happen to this because it's so beautiful. I think probably more with a raglan fit, that would be more likely because the armpit's a little further out here. But I love this sweater. I'm really happy with how it came out, and I think it looks really nice and pretty impressive as far as, oh, you made that. So I'm excited to use this for photos and have it all winter. Yeah, wearing it now, I think I might redo that bottom hem because it just kind of flips out a little weird, but it looks good enough for now. And yeah, I'll get some footage of me actually wearing it hopefully tomorrow, and put that in so you can see how it fits, and I just love it. So definitely recommend. I know Jennifer Steingass is not like a designer I've discovered or anything. She's very popular for her colorwork yokes, and she has some others that I would probably consider doing at this point, because I at least know that it was an understandable, easy to follow pattern, and it fits really well. Super happy. Trying to think if I did anything else noteworthy on this, but I don't think I did. So I'm just gonna leave it on now. And the only other work in progress project that I have at the moment is a super boring but worth mentioning classic ribbed hat by Pearl Soho. Making another one for my husband, because we were on a make a green things kick, because my son's hand-me-down sweater for my daughter is green, my sweater is green, thinking maybe having the husband wear this, but now my daughter's wearing bright red and yellow, so whatever, it's all gonna be fine. But yeah, I was making this thinking that he needed a handmade item. So this is a Fiber for the People yarn that I actually got on D-Stash, so slightly cheaper. I D-Stash off of Etsy in the colorway Endor on an 85-15 superwash nylon base, and it's DK weight. Ooh, that's really blowing out there, sorry. Endor, Fiber for the People, some of my favorite yarns, and it's lovely. And this is I think my husband's third of this particular hat, and he likes the fit of it. I was gonna do the watch cap one, which is a 2x2 rib instead, but I know that he really likes this one, and I can just make it to size of the others, and I know it's gonna fit. So yeah, not exciting, but really pretty color. And it's funny because the other two hats have kind of pirate thing. I love pirates. Kind of pirate thing. Like I think the other colorway was like a cannonball or cannon smoke or something, and Black Pearl is another one that I did for him in different yarn companies. But this one, Endor, I think is Star Wars inspired. That's a thing, right? Endor is something to do with Ewoks, I think. But yeah, this is just a really beautiful green tonal with more of a blue undertone than I would like for myself, but I think it's gonna look good on him. Just a pretty jewel tone. So not exciting, but that's what I've been working on. And then, do I show you the, let me show you the yarns that I've not acquired but have dyed, I would say recently, but it's been like in August. But the naturally dyed yarns that I have, and then I'll talk about a top secret project. It's just a slew of purpley pinky yarns. At some point I need to, in the next month, film a video, not a tutorial, but a video of all the naturally dyed yarns that I've done this year, because I just kind of want to showcase them all, and they're all really pretty. And it's just super fun to play. But these are just a couple. I'm going to show you real quick. In no particular order, because I don't remember in which order that I did them. These are done with, why aren't you labeled? Are these pokeberry? Yes, these were pokeberry. I panicked for a minute. Yes, these were pokeberry, done cold dye. So just cold water and stuck in a jar. And all of the yarns are superwash merino, nylon bases, and I mordanted them with citric acid because that's what I have on hand. But yeah, these are pokeberry, which is just, it's picking up brighter. It's a slightly deeper purple, but really fun. So I did those two big skeins, and then kind of just some other randoms. Let's see, what are you? I've been trying to label. All right, so these were solar dyed with Concord grapes, or wild fox grapes. So I did a bit of solar dyeing a wee bit back. Those were solar dyed. Are you solar dyed? No, this was a solar dye. This is mahogany nasturtium, which I thought for sure was going to produce like a much pinkier shade, but it kind of produced like a brownish pink. It's got some really deep browns in there. Kind of interesting. So that was mahogany nasturtium solar dye. This was carrot tops. With the stove top, I was able to get like a kind of a key lime pie kind of green on stovetop, but I got a light yellow with the carrot tops from my own garden with the solar dye. Sorry, card was full. I was saying the Rosa Sharon starts out like a lavendery, not lavendery, but like a periwinkly kind of purple, kind of more like this, but brighter. And then it always fades, so almost off-white beige. But I have a lot of Rose of Sharon bushes in my yard, so that was cool. And then these were just a pleasant surprise. This one, I believe, was silky dogwood berries that we found on a walk with my daughter, and they were like bright blue. And I knew they weren't going to produce blue because that, like, you need indigo to get. But they were a very deep blue, and I thought they would maybe produce something purpley like pokeberry does. But they did this kind of mauve pink. And then these were my favorite find of the year, and I had meant to go back and get more, but it just never happened. Arrowwood viburnum berries, which were kind of purpley, and they made this beautiful like winey color. And this was stovetop, by the way. These weren't solar dyed. But I would love to go back and next year try some more. So yeah, they're super pretty, and that's kind of what I've been up to recently. But I need to do a whole roundup video because I have dyed naturally so many things this year, and yeah, kind of have a project in mind for that. I would like to make, I think when it comes out, we'll have to see, but I kind of was going through her tester call just to see the details on it, if I could make it, because it's DK and she's holding yarns double, but Rebecca of the Crayabaya is releasing an Advent skein sort of stripey cardigan boxy thing, and I think I might like to make that. But I have a whole rainbow of naturally dyed yarn set aside for myself, and yeah, I'm not doing it as a business, but it's super fun to play with things that I've grown and from our yard and from our walks, and it's just, it amazes me how much color God has hidden in creation. Like, obviously there's the colors that you can see, but when you take like a, I don't know, like a carrot top and it produces yellow, or the like really deep purple pokeberries produce like hot pink, or I don't know, just it's really surprising and fun to see what kind of colors you can get and then like modify. It's so fun. So I really enjoy doing that. So those are the yarns that I've acquired. Most of them have a purpose, and some of them were just kind of more of an experiment, and like some of them, like this Rose of Sharon one, is probably going to go in the over dye pile because this isn't a very exciting color. But all in all, I am pretty pleased with those. I think that was all of them, right? Oh no, I dropped one. I knew there was a stripier one. So this one was the Arrowwood viburnum and the silky dogwood berries after I had exhausted them for, I mixed it all up, I'm sorry. So these were the original two colors. And then Exhaust Bath, I split it into 2 jars and then put the jars in like a double water, what is it called? Like when you melt chocolate, over a double boiler. So I had the jars with the dye in warm water, and then I had this skein hanging between the 2 jars, so it made like a, it's gonna do like a striping kind of thing. I was like playing around trying to use up as much dye as possible. So that was really fun. So that's all the skeins. That one might actually be my favorite. But yes, so those are my naturally dyed skeins. Now I have more content, but if you are my mother, Kimmy, you, my mother, I need you to leave top secret information regarding my mother's birthday. So if you are in fact my mother, please leave. And if you are not, please stay. I love you, Mama. But yeah, I am embarking on a birthday / Christmas gift making adventure. Part of all the natural dyeing has been, I wanted to gift my mom an advent calendar. And I had gone back and forth on if I was going to let my daughter dye it all with like food dye, or do it all natural dye, or do like 12 skeins and 12 skeins, half and half, or all 24 from me, or do 12 and then like goodies. And think what I've settled on, partially because I want a lot of the skeins for myself and I really like them. And I ran out of minis at this point. But I had gotten a bunch on sale last year, so I had a surplus. But yeah, what I think I'm going to do is I have 12 skeins set aside. I'll show you another time in a different video. 12 ones that I think my mom would like that I've set aside, and then some stitch markers and pom-poms and other things that I've made to add up to 24 days. But what I'm doing is I not only am dyeing the yarn, making the stitch markers, making the pom-poms, why not be totally over the top and make the little baggies too? So I decided I was going to sew drawstring bags for the entire advent calendar. And then I still need to come up with some way to make tags. I was going to have my sister-in-law, different sister-in-law with Cricut, make me iron on stickers, but I think I might actually have my daughter make me some kind of little hangy tag thing and like watercolor paint them or something. My mom's birthday has been mid-November, so I'm giving it to her for her birthday, but it's going to be an advent calendar for Christmas. So yes. So I've been sewing little tiny drawstring bags. And as it turns out, little tiny drawstring bags are a pain in the rump. And very repetitive when you have to make 24 of them. I think I have like 11 or something. How many do I have here? 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 made and then 4 or so over there that just need some finishing and are like 3/4 of the way down. Anyway, I will link the tutorial down below that I am following for making these little sewn drawstring bags. So I will pop a little mini skein in, each one, and then I'm doing slightly smaller ones for the days where there's going to be stitch markers because these bags would be excessively large. I will fit them in there better than that. But yeah, messed up the drawstring. There's some threads I need to clip in there that are getting tangled. Maybe this was a bad example one. But anyway, I'm making them all with fabric that is scrap from my stash that was living in my mom's house, either from when she was sewing stuff, or I will clip that later, sewing stuff, or from when I sewed in high school. We went through and sorted out who won what fabric, whatever. So I have a whole big bin in the basement of stuff. So I have, I think, 4 fabrics that I picked. I have this one with Christmas trees, which was super cute. And then I have, and I'm just kind of alternating what I do as the main fabric and then as the lining fabric. And like I said, I'd link the tutorial. And these could be made any size, but I was following a tutorial for making, it's just listed as drawstring bags, but she's using them as advent pouches as well. And they're just the right size for a mini skein if you want to do this yourself as well. So then I have this hot pink, which is not my style at all, but my mother loves hot pink. Hot pink, Christmas trees, this green, and then this, let me find a good one, polka dot with little birds on it, little pink birds. And on some of the pieces I was able to get the birds incorporated. On some of them I just have the plain polka dot brown, which I think I try to use more as the lining and then use the bird pieces for the outsides. But either way, I have a combo of all of those, just switching them in and out for the main fabrics and the linings. And then I just have various yarns and strings that I'm doing for the drawstring bits. But yeah, they're really cute. And I mean, my finishing isn't fantastic on them. And I could have like ironed and measured a little more, but I'm kind of just eyeballing now. Like this one you can totally see is not straight across the front. Maybe you can't see, but the lines are not straight. I am just doing my very best, and my very best that doesn't include ironing or like marking or measuring every single one identically. I did measure all the pieces the same and cut them all the same. And I found that if I kind of batch them, that's helping. So I did all the cutting in one night, and then the first night I made like 3 bags, but then I kind of got in a rhythm where now I'm like doing the first half of the bags, and the next night I'm doing the second half, and I have, a couple more to go. So I have 10 or 11 or something done here, and I need to finish the rest before mid-November, so I can handle that. That one I need to trim. But yeah, they're really cute, and I'm happy with them. And like I said, I have ones that are slightly smaller for the days that I have stitch markers. So yeah, I think she'll really like that. And I don't know, the drawstring bags were supposed to be part of the gift, but now I'm wondering if my mother actually needs to own 24 drawstring bags, or if she should give them, like, am I doing this every year for her? Should I keep these for my children? I'm not sure. But I have enough fabric, I could definitely sew more if I wanted to do one for my kids. But we do a storybook advent with them where we have a whole collection of Christmas and wintry themed books, and I gift wrap them every year, and then each night my daughter gets to pick one out. And this year I might do just not even Christmas themed books. I may just wrap my son's random board books because he doesn't care that they're not brand new, and just use those. I've probably been talking for far too long when I go through an entire camera battery in one podcast. Yeah, put a freshly charged one at the beginning there, but it just died out. So anyway, Advents. Making one for my mom and hope she's really gonna like it. She's always super into watching other podcasters because she knits, I should mention that. She does know how to crochet as well, but she mostly knits. And she's always into watching other podcasters who get all the advent calendars and whatever, but she's not one to go out and buy one. So I thought that would be a nice birthday into Christmas gift. And I like handmade gifts. And I know my mom likes handmade gifts, so she'll appreciate that. So I'm curious to know if you're getting advent calendars, doing advent calendars. I kind of wanted to do an advent make-along. But yeah, now I'm not doing, because I usually do like a scrap vent thing, where I make a scrappy advents out of yarns I already have, but now this year I may actually be making my own advent calendar. So I don't know if I'm going to do that. And yeah, I need to get up another video of all the yarns I dyed. And I have another idea for another kind of leading into Christmas knit crochet sort of related video. And yeah, I'm hoping I can get more of these up. And I'm just realizing now that hopefully the audio on this is not funny. But yeah, thank you for hanging out with me. And I think I said everything that I needed to say. And I will put show notes down below. I appreciate you hanging out for all of it. Leave your button opinions down below because I need to know. And let me know what you're working on. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking it out with me. And I appreciate you guys. I will catch you in episode 68, whenever that may be. Thanks, guys.